So these are actual pictures taken on farms right next to each other in Vernon County. And the point I'd like to make is that there is, in my experience, not a lot of farmers that wouldn't admit that they would rather see what's on the right versus what's on the left. And to get them to go from that value judgment to actually doing something about it is what you're going to spend 2 days talking about. And both Serge and Adam are two guys that if you have somebody that's a bit recalcitrant, I would suggest you get them to come over and they will use their silver-tongued arguments. But ultimately, what I have found is that a farmer, a landowner will say, oh, that's very good, but will it work on my farm? And so what we have done, click it once, Connor, in a combination of Grassland 2.0, which is part of the University of Wisconsin, and the Center for Integrated Ag Systems, which is also a part of the University of Wisconsin. In this team, Brad Barnum and Connor are both in the, what I used to call the ag econ area. They're the guys that keep us straight. John Hendrickson and Connor also is the guy that does all the algorithms and what we're going to show you. John Hendrickson and I go way back. John works for the university. I do not. I'm actually a cattle farmer. Vernon County, we raise grass-fed beef. John does all of the Excel spreadsheet work. So the goal was to have a tool, a workbench, if you will, that a service provider like all of you could sit with a producer and use the producer's numbers to make the argument that, yes, you can do it, and here's what the financial outcome will be. So that we have done compass tools of other sorts through CIAS for years. One is livestock compass, the other is a vegetable compass, etc. These particular compass tools that we're doing with Grassland 2.0, we try to make site and operation specific. That is, you're sitting right at the kitchen table with a producer proving that, yes, he can do this or she can do this. In all of these, in Compass, we embed a pasture planning sheet, which is exactly like a certified pasture planner would use in coming up with the balance between the number of animals, the amount of land, how many times you are willing to move them over a period of time, what cultivars you're using in the paddock, and so forth. It is a pasture plan. And that, however, we've gone one more step, and that is answering the question whether with that pasture plan, you can get the animal performance that you're after. And by performance, usually measured in gain per day, but also, and this is where the art comes in, also all the other things that being on pasture does to animals. And then we go one more step and wrap numbers around what you're doing now with your animals versus what you could see if you embraced a pasture system. In that, the spreadsheets that you're going to see, keep in mind that what we're trying to do is base load pasture as the main feed source. To Adam's point, pasture is the least expensive feed that you can put into a ruminant. And we've accumulated numbers. We're not going to show you those numbers here. This is also part of the art that you guys have to perform. Having done that, so we've got a pasture plan, we've got animal performance, and now we're going to look at the cost of establishing and running that pasture system versus the cost of what you're doing right now. profitability is a bit of a misnomer. We're going to look at cost. What cost savings can I have if I go to a pasture-based system? And then we're going to compare those two, both in terms of cash and in terms of expense. The beauty of these tools is that they have the ability to do real-time iteration with a producer. So you can fill it all out, and if they say, no, I can't move my cattle every 3 days because of such and so, I got to go to 5 days. You can show them in the tool what that's going to do to pasture performance, which will then mean fewer animals being able to be supported on the land. So you can make those iterations. Next slide. So we've started out with dairy heifers because the opportunity, as Adam has pointed out, the opportunity is huge in Wisconsin. And we're at a time when a lot of economics are in play right now in the dairy heifer raising business. A lot of heifers get out of the state of Wisconsin, go someplace else to be raised. That is becoming either A, impossible with drought hitting those areas, or B, very expensive. So we're in a state of flux. We started with dairy heifers, and besides, we're the dairy state. But we're also going to include, in fact, Connor, I think we're almost ready to announce a beef growing and finishing compass. Adam has nominated, and we have embraced, a dairy steer growing and finishing compass, and then a beef cow and calf compass, which will be structured a little bit differently, but it'll blow your mind. Next slide. So the structure, I've really alluded to already. We've got the first page that Connor will show you of the worksheet is this pasture and animal balance, which in layman's terms, or in the state of the art, is a pasture plan. And the asterisk is there because if you did nothing else, it is a true pasture plan. The second piece will be a pasture feeding plan, which compares the nutrients required to meet the animal performance you want to the nutrient load that you're going to get off the pasture. And you can determine if it's going to be enough or not. And if it's not, you can supplement within the tool. You can pick feeds to supplement. That also is a full stop plan that you can discuss with the producer. And then the next step will be in the structure is the cost of establishing pasture and operating it versus the next point, which is the existing system operating expense. And then finally, the last page of this spreadsheet book is a financial comparison, one system to the other. Okay, Connor? So this is what it looks like. It is available. We don't have an internet home for it, I don't think yet, but if you'd ask Connor, he would be very happy to send you a copy. As a matter of fact, we've introduced this to some other groups, and Connor has committed that he will do an in-depth study or training of the tool if there's enough interest. So again, down the tabs on the bottom of the sheet are exactly what I just talked about. The pasture plan, the feeding plan, cost to establish and run, existing system operating expense, and then finally a financial analysis. And Connor, that's all I've got. You can take it away.